This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. The information contained in this podcast is intended for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for individual professional legal advice. The podcast information was carefully compiled from vetted sources and references. However, R.O.S.E Resources Outreach to Safeguard the Elderly cannot guarantee that you will not fall victim to a scam. Let's talk about scams. It's the must-listen show for anyone who wants to protect themselves and their loved ones from scams. Every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time on K4HD Radio, Joyce Petrowski, founder of R.O.S E, and her guests will provide valuable insights and practical tips on how to recognize and protect yourself from scams. And now, here is your host, Joyce Petrowski.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Joyce Petrowski, founder and board president of R.O.S.E Resources Outreach to Safeguard the Elderly. You can find more information on our website at roseadvocacy.org. You'll find our social media links, and if you scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, you'll see where you can sign up for our emailed newsletter and or our mailed newsletter. Always good to get those reminders on a regular basis, so it helps enforce your healthy skepticism, and you're more apt to make scam prevention a habit with those regular reminders. And don't forget to click subscribe so you don't ever miss an episode of this show. So today we are joined by Valorie, excuse me, and she's going to talk to us about a tech support subscription scam that she encountered a few years back. So let's welcome Valorie.
Hello.
Hey, Valorie, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us today. And tell us a little bit about the scam that you encountered a few years ago.
Okay. I was going through my email, clean it out, see what was there, and I came across one from Norton Antivirus. I opened it, and it was a short letter that said, "Thank you for renewing your subscription for Norton Plus. We have deducted $499 from the bank account you had on file with us. If you have any questions about your new subscription, please call this phone number." Well, I panicked. It was at a time when our budget was pretty tight. I did not remember having subscribed to Norton, and I knew we could not afford $499 at the moment. So I immediately called that phone number to tell them this is a mistake. If we signed up, please reverse it, and we don't want this. And a very kind young man on the other end, "Oh, I totally understand. I'm sorry for the mistake. Let's see about canceling this subscription and refunding to you the money that we took out of your bank account." Now, I should have realized at the time they never mentioned the bank account, nor do I remember ever giving that information to anyone. I was on the phone, of course, but I had the email open in front of me, and he said, "We can do this all online. And just so that you know that this is legitimate, go ahead and open your checking account to see that the $499 charge is on there as having come out of your checking account." And I opened my bank account, went to checking. Sure enough, there was a thing from Norton for $499. It showed right up. And so he said, "Okay, there is a way that we can do this. I'm going to send you to your computer a digital form that you're going to fill out. And he said, we'll just round it up to $500, and you're going to put back into your account from our business $500. And he said, you're going to do this. I don't have access to your bank account. I want you to know that I can't see it.
Okay.
And which is, of course, a lie.
Right.
But anyway, he sent the form digitally, and I started filling it out. And there was a place to enter the $500 to go back into my account. I typed in 500, and a third zero immediately showed up. $5,000 to go back into our account. And I said to the young man, I did this, but it won't let me go back and change it. It went to 5,000. I can't get rid of the other zero. And he said, oh, no, well, this is a problem. Let me talk to my supervisor. And so he goes off the phone for a minute or so and comes back and says, I'm sorry, we've got a big problem. We're going to have to, do something to make sure that you send us back the $5,000.
Okay.
My husband was on the other side of the room and had been listening to this.
Okay.
And about that time, he walks over and he says, I have our banker on the phone. She says there is no activity in our account and you should hang up right now. Don't say a word to me. Hang up. And so I did. And he stayed on the phone with her, and she said, now open your checking account. And I did. And there was absolutely nothing in it. How they made it look like money had been taken out of my checking account, I do not know. But she said, there has been no activity in your checking account in these amounts from Norton. It was a scam.
Wow.
Well, I was so upset that I had fallen for this. I immediately texted my kids and my siblings and told them what had happened. I said, be careful of this. And my daughter-in-law said to me, also be careful on one of those phone calls that you never answer a question yes, because they will record that yes and use it to say that you gave them permission to do something. I said, okay. 2 days later, we're in the car driving someplace. My phone rings, and it's not a number I know, but I answered it. There was a young man on the other end whose voice I kind of recognized, who said, hi, this is so-and-so. Do you remember me? And I said, no, and hung up. I was so glad, because otherwise I might have been tempted to say, yes, I'm really upset with you.
Right.
But I said no and hung up. 2 days later, he called again, and I didn't even answer. I just immediately hung up.
And was that the last that you ever heard from them?
That was the last time I heard from
them.
them.
I'm surprised that they only tried twice, because they had you so close to.
Very, very close. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So you were at one of our presentations recently.
Yes.
And so you got to see our Anatomy of a Scam infographic that we did. It's in the resource packet, and we went over it. And so, we tell everybody, we want you to know the red flags, and we want you to cut it off at the contact, which is the first step, right? They have to contact you somehow. And a perfect example here was the email. And it doesn't sound like there was any bad grammar in the email. And they probably had Norton's logo in there, maybe to make it look more legit, and, that's a lot of artificial intelligence, right? You can plug it into ChatGPT, a bunch of prompts, and it's going to spit out an email to send to millions of people that has the grammar's accurate, right? So you can't look at for bad grammar anymore. And so then the second part we talk about was that creating that compelling reason to get you to act, which was, oh my God, they took $499 out of my account. You said your budget was tight. We couldn't afford it. There's a phone number right there. You just immediately call it. But, you said I panicked, right? And that's that emotion that they want to get you in, is the panic. And your husband was listening, and he's sitting there in his rational state of mind.
Yes.
And so he's thinking this doesn't make sense. So he immediately calls the bank to verify, which is exactly right. What we talk about doing is to verify before you trust. But once they get you into that emotional state, all you're doing, like in your instance, you were panicking and you just wanted to follow the steps that he was giving you because you wanted to get that $499 out of your account. You wanted that money back. And he showed you how it was in your account. And I don't know technically how they're able to do it. I just know they're extremely smart and savvy, and they have a lot of technology available to them to make it appear like he did to you.
Yes.
Right.
That was what amazed me. Of course he was saying, I want you to do this so that you know that I'm not getting into your checking account. And I realized later a big mistake I made at the beginning was it said on there, we have deducted this amount from the account you have on file with us. I should have asked first thing, which account is that? Because I don't believe he would have known until I opened it.
True. Right. And see, these are all those things, right? After you get out of that emotional state and you think about it more, you're like, you see the red flags, right? But that's the difference between when you're in your rational state versus your emotional state. And so, like a lot of people would say, they felt stupid, and stuff like that. And it's like, it doesn't have anything to do with intelligence, because you're not thinking clearly when you're thinking out of emotions, and that scammers know that. And so they do that. And I guarantee you are not the only one that called that phone number. Right. And there are people that would have lost $5,000 because they would have went through with the whole thing. And you, had your husband not been there and you followed through everything that he did, you'd be thinking, okay, I've got that money back. But the next day or two, you would have then realized, wait a minute, 5,000 came out of my account.
Right.
And there was never anything put in my account to begin with. So because of that, you might not have checked your account until the next day. So it's really scary.
Well, it is. And I have always considered myself a level-headed person, but I panicked pretty quickly.
They're so good. They can get you emotional right off the bat. And there's people that, I think when they hear somebody talk about scams, in their mind immediately goes, well, that'll never happen to me. And with that thought process, you become, in my opinion, more vulnerable to falling victim, because you're already thinking you're not going to. And so you've already let your guard down. Right. And, it happens to the best of us. Right. Thank goodness your husband was there and was able to overhear what was going on and called the bank to verify and found out, this was a scam and all of that. And so you probably heard of the tech support scams, how they would originally come out, where you'd get a pop-up on your device saying you've got a virus, and and sometimes there's the loud noise and all this stuff, and sometimes
we've had that happen.
You can't use your device and you've got to call this number and this and that. And we saw that for the longest time, and then all of a sudden, and it got to the point where so many people were falling victim to it. A couple of years ago, the FBI put out a public service announcement on this specific refund scam, where they changed their technique and it all still revolved around tech support or antivirus and stuff like that, but it was the refund subscription. And so that's how scammers evolve, right? They start out and then they change their techniques, and it's just to keep everybody on their toes, right? Because they know if they change their techniques that there's going to be some people that will fall victim, until we start hearing about it and we can warn people about it. But that's why getting to understand scams in general, which I think we do a really good job of with that anatomy of a scam, right? Is that step one is that contact. And like you did the next 2 days later, I think you said he called, you got the phone call and you answered. It was from a number you didn't know and you answered it. And, you know, and I'm surprised they only tried twice, but it's good that they only tried twice and they've left you alone after that. But that contact is recognizing it at the contact, and whether you've engaged with them and then found out, or you recognize it right when you receive the contact. It's better to recognize it right when you receive it and not engage, because as you saw through experience, how quickly they get you panicked, how quickly they get you excited, how quickly they get you to feel like you're not lonely anymore. You have a loved one in your life, right? The romance scam and all that.
Well, and also because I called the number, then they had my cell phone number.
Right. Yeah. Right. And again, I'm surprised that it was just twice that they called you back. But that's great. You also mentioned about when you talk to your family members about it, which is another thing we want people to do, is you tell people about it, right? Because if they haven't been contacted yet, they will. Yeah. And if they don't know, they don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Yes. Right. It's and that way, the more information we can share and the more information that we can get out there and share with other people helps keep them safe too. But you mentioned your daughter-in-law had mentioned about not to say yes on the phone as well. And I've heard other people talk about that. But I've also had some people say that that's not really a scam, that doesn't happen. And it's like, you know, I seen on the FBI reports, right? Don't say yes. And do they specifically state that type of scam? No, they might put it under another type of scam, but it's something that could be very straightforward and very easy for them to do. And you might not ever know, you might, like you said, all of a sudden have this subscription or this purchase, but then you might think somebody got your credit card and that's how they were able to purchase stuff. But I would bet that it's happened. I mean, if I was a betting person and I was putting money on it, I'd be like, yeah, I'm sure it's happened to people, whether they know about it, realized that it had happened or not. It just seems, like it would be a very simple thing for them to do. So, but again, people have different opinions on different things. So, it's always good, right? For people to know that. So, when you get that phone call and you answer and they say, "Is this Valorie?" And you're like, and you say speaking or something like that. Like you said, he said, "Do you remember me?" And you're like, "No," even though you did recognize his voice.
No, I did. Yes.
But yeah, so just quickly, it doesn't have to be quickly. Did you learn some stuff in our presentation?
Oh, quite a lot. We thought it was very helpful. And, we hear a lot of advertisements for things like LifeLock and Protector things, and had not ever responded. But after hearing your presentation, we did what you recommended and Googled the top 5 companies that protect you online. And we now have a subscription for one of those.
Oh, okay.
However, there was one little issue.
Some companies offering online protection subscriptions include.
Pardon me, Google thinks I'm talking to him. Um, anyway, partly due to my low vision issues.
Okay.
Sometimes I don't see the details of things, but it turns out that the program that we purchased works on 3 of our devices.
Oh, good.
But not on 2 of them, because the other 2 have ISP providers that are not supported by that particular company.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I have not yet called them and asked. I mean, I signed up for 5 devices.
You're
I
right.
thought I would call and ask for maybe a refund to go down to 3. But I would recommend to people, if you're looking at those, look to see which companies they support.
Oh, okay. For the ISP.
Yes.
And all of that. That's good information, right? And but the good thing about it is you can call them and say, hey, can I go down to the package of 3?
Right.
Because it doesn't work on my other 2 devices, and there shouldn't be any reason why they wouldn't do that.
Right.
But that's good. I'm glad you. So was that like a credit monitoring company, or was it more of like a company to get your information off the internet?
It was more one of those that protects your information on your internet.
Okay.
We do
All right.
all of our banking on the internet. We
Okay.
pay all of our bills on the internet, and that I believe is what they are protecting.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's good. I'm glad you guys were able to get some useful information from the presentation. You know, that's our goal, is to make everybody more educated and aware. So when you are contacted, you know how to recognize the flags, and you know what to do, right? You know what to do to try not to get into an emotional state, right? And so you have your husband, right, that you just pause and go, okay, I'm going to go talk to him, right? If he gets something and he's like, oh, okay, well, let me go talk to my wife, right? And, you know, maybe your daughter-in-law or some of your other family members will be like, oh, well, wait a minute, Valorie had something happen. Let me call and talk to her, right? So it's good to share information, and it's also good to be someone's trusted person, right? Especially there's I think there's a lot of seniors that live alone and are kind of isolated, and they might not have family members, and so that's where it's really good that they have neighbors that you know, friends and neighbors that can check in on them and make sure they're okay and talk to them about these things. So they don't fall victim, because as you saw, their scammers are ruthless.
They
right?
are.
They are. And a lot of people have often said, man, if they would only use all of this energy to do good, it's like, how, you know, great would this world be? But, you know, it's unfortunate. Some of the scammers are forced labor, you know, so they've been kidnapped and they're forced to do this stuff. Others are doing it because they want the money and they don't care who they're going to hurt. So, you know, it's, and unfortunately you don't usually know which one it is, you know, that you're talking to. But I'm so glad that that you guys were able to figure it out before that transaction went through. Did you have somebody look at your computer and stuff and make sure that there isn't anything in the background going on that you weren't aware of?
No, I'm sorry. We didn't even think to do that.
I would do that. I know it's been a few years, and I would think that you would have noticed some stuff. You would have, you know, you would have seen more, or you would have noticed your device is not working properly. But it might be worth having a tech support person and they can remote in to your devices, and they can look around, and they can make sure that there's not something hiding in the background that you're not aware of, that's infecting your device, that's watching what you do. I mean, there's just so much stuff out there. I think it's good to do that. And it's also good to have that trusted tech support person in your back pocket, per se. So when you do have an issue with something, you're not going to panic. You know exactly who you want to call. And if you need, if you don't have anybody, if your friends or family can't refer you to somebody that they trust, just shoot me an email, and I have a few people that I can give you their information.
Thank you. I would like that. We have recently moved. We're in a new area completely. And so I had people where we previously lived, but not here.
Okay. All right. Then I'll give you a couple of people's information, and you can give them a call. But I think that would be good. You know, like I said, I think you would have seen something. You would have noticed your device is acting weird. But it's just always good, especially when you've had, right? You don't know how that guy was able to make it look like it was your bank account. So you just want to, especially with whatever device that was that you were on, make sure that one.
Okay. And actually that device kind of did a meltdown and we got rid of it. So maybe that was why.
Okay. That very well could have been, that very well could have been. And so maybe that's why you haven't seen anything,
now, I would like to ask you though, with these companies, the company that we got that, monitors what's going on our devices, would they not be able to find something like that?
So if you don't mind me asking, who is the company?
I went with Aura. It was at the top of a couple of lists. Do you know that company?
AURA?
AURA.
Oh, it's identity protection?
Yes.
I would call them first and find out, because I'm looking online. I'm not familiar with that company. Okay. It says removal of your data, identity theft protection, home title monitoring.
Right.
So they probably have something that is monitoring your device, maybe some antivirus or anti-malware software that is. I would just call them and ask them that question.
Okay.
Because you're right, they might already be doing that. Okay. Yeah, they could be, because I know we personally use Norton LifeLock, and Norton used to be the antivirus and LifeLock was the credit monitoring company, and they merged together. And so we have that antivirus through them, but also the credit monitoring through them as well. So Aura could be the same type of company that does multiple different things.
And I believe it does, because we were looking for the identity protection, also wanted the mortgage, the house title.
Oh yeah. And it said they monitor the house title as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I will ask them. I do need to call them to see if they'll refund part of my thing. Anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely ask them that. So, unless there's anything else, I think that brings us to a close.
Okay. Thank you so much. Your presentation was so helpful. It gave us the kick we needed to do some things for our protection. And good. I appreciate you letting me tell my story. I do hope it helps to protect someone else.
And I so appreciate you being willing to tell your story. I know it can be difficult at times to tell these types of stories. So I really appreciate you being vulnerable to share it with everyone.
You're very welcome.
All right. Thanks, Valorie.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye. So Valorie, she went through a lot a couple years ago, a lot of stress, getting that email and thinking that there was $499 coming out of her bank account. And that's exactly how scammers are very savvy with what they do. And getting you into in this instance, a panic mode very quickly. So just remember to pause and talk to your trusted person so you can verify what's going on before, and verifying what's going on, don't call the phone numbers, don't respond to the contact, don't click on a link in the contact to go to a website or anything. Go do the verification on your own. Find the verified website, find the verified phone number for whatever company it is and call them directly, and see what's going on. Just like Valerie's husband did. After he heard what was going on, he called the bank directly and was able to talk to them and found out there was no activity going on in the account. And so they shut it down. And don't forget, you can find all our social media on our website at roseadvocacy.org. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage. You'll find our email and mailed newsletter signups. It's always good to get these reminders. With the email, you get a Tuesday tip that comes out every Tuesday at 9:15 a.m. You might look at it and go, okay, I already know that. And that's great that you already know that tip. But what it does is it reminds you about scam prevention, and it helps make it become a habit. When you have scam prevention as a habit and a healthy skepticism, when you are contacted, you will be more likely to think about scam prevention and have that healthy skepticism and do what you need to do to verify things before you call the place or engage with whatever the contact was, to protect yourself. So anyways, and click subscribe. You don't want to miss one of these episodes. And we are getting really close to Halloween. I hope everybody has a great Halloween, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Well, that's all the knowledge for this episode. Tune in every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time on K4HD Radio at k4hd.com as Joyce explores a variety of knowledge so you have the power to make scam protection your healthy habit. And until then, feel free to reach out to Joyce and let's talk.